Hello, hello, Amanda.
Hi.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I have lots of questions for you, and I know so many people in the community are excited to hear about your story. I feel like as we dig into it, that will why will unfold.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess we can just, you want to start out kind of by sharing your journey? We can go from beginning to end, I guess, or where you are now.
Yeah, totally. I first of all, I just want to say like this is such a full circle moment for me. It's such like a long-term manifestation I've been working towards for a long time. Like I remember when I was thinking about signing up for the course, and then when I first signed up for the course, I was like, okay, when I have a student success story with Sarah, that is how I will know that I've done the thing. So I feel
Yes.
really good about this, and I'm just so grateful to be here and grateful for you and the whole freedom community. So just wanted to
Yeah.
start out with that. But yeah, so my journey, everybody listening, I do have some notes here that I've written out. So I just want to, like, if it looks like I'm staring off into the distance, I apologize. I'm just like
Yeah, it's all good. Notes are
trying to
great,
make sure I don't
especially if you
forget
get it
anything.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So um, the reason I started freelancing and started copywriting really was born out of necessity for me. And that's because I have had some form of chronic illness for most of my life. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 13. And I'm no stranger to health issues. But 2019 is kind of the beginning of my like business journey, I guess.
Mhm.
That was really the year of the health crisis, I will say. Um, I won't go into like all the details because it was really complicated, but basically, at the beginning of that year, I was forced to quit my job because I was just exhausted all the time. I really couldn't think straight. Like, I actually had just started a new job as like a digital marketing assistant
Mhm.
for a local agency, and like there was just so much to learn and so much to do, and I just couldn't keep up. And I was like having these mood swings and a lot of
Mhm.
fatigue and just unexplainable symptoms. And this was kind of the culmination of several years of issues. So it was, by the time I got to that point, it was really like a rock bottom moment. And suddenly I was unemployed, extremely ill, and extremely depressed. And this basically lasted for the first 6 months of 2019. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so it was not good. Long story short, after like I did the whole conventional medicine thing, like all the doctors, all the specialists, just couldn't really offer me anything except drugs that I
Mhm.
didn't want to take.
Mhm.
A lot of like invasive diagnostic procedures and just like hang in there. And that wasn't really working for me.
Yeah.
So I finally turned to a naturopathic doctor
Mhm.
to help me investigate the root cause. And literally within like 2 weeks, I would say, of working with him and correcting some like pretty severe nutritional deficiencies, I had
Yeah.
like a total lift of depression, and like I just felt like a real human.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
it was crazy. It really felt like a miracle at the time. Like after six
Yeah.
months of just feeling like garbage,
Mhm.
and really like I really lost hope for a while there. So having that happen was crazy. So I continued to work with my ND on fixing my health. But
Mhm.
then once I started to feel better, I had another problem, which is I had been unemployed for most of the year, and now I had medical bills starting to come in, and I really needed money. But
Yeah.
I was like, do I go back to a 9 to 5 job? Like, I don't think I can physically handle that.
Mhm.
And I knew that part of the reason for my health decline in the first place really was the job I had been in
Mhm.
prior to the new job I started and then had to quit. But I was just totally unfulfilled there. I was barely making $15 an hour as a
Mhm.
contractor, and I worked 8 hours a day. And it just totally drained me, and I hated it, and I didn't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
But I really needed something to bring in consistent income, like just anything. So I did end up getting another part-time copy editing job,
Mhm.
which is what I had been doing before, but before I was in retail. do not recommend. So
Yeah.
this time it was with an educational nonprofit locally here, and that was really great. And I'm so grateful that that came when it did, because it helped me get back on my feet and start to pay some bills again, and still like continue healing, and then figure out how I could make freelance writing work for me. So that kind of brings us to the end of 2019.
Hmm.
And yeah, so then I was just writing on Medium pretty consistently for a while. And for a while there, I was like one article a week. I'm gonna write one blog a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like I kind of made myself stick to that. And I just started looking into like, okay,
What
like
was what
yeah,
was the motivation for that though? I just got to jump in there. Why? Just to be consistent with your writing or?
yes. And I think just having that structure in my life of like this, I want to
Mm,
pursue this thing, and
okay,
like this
yeah.
is my metric. So
Gotcha.
it wasn't like, and literally I wrote about whatever. Like I did write about some health stuff, and I kind of knew right away like that was going to be my focus. But I also wrote about like Star Wars
Yeah.
and just like random stuff, K-pop and stuff I wanted to talk about. So it was like a combination of building those writing and blogging skills specifically, but also just kind of like fun,
Yes.
getting
Yes.
back into that creative mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing that, and then I was like, okay, I gotta have a website. So I looked up 10 best writer websites, and that's how I found your personal agency website.
That's so funny.
And I don't remember what number you were, but you were in the top 10. And I was super intrigued and super impressed because like I saw right away that you worked with functional medicine doctors
Mhm.
and kind of people in that space. And I knew like those would be some of my ideal clients. Like without having that language yet, I was like, those are the people I want to work with.
Right. Right.
And then it was just like a little button way up in the corner said, write your way to freedom. And I was like, huh, what's
Yeah.
clicked the button and fell down the rabbit hole. And I watched so many success stories, and again, full circle moment. So yeah, and I don't know if it was like, I think it was like a couple weeks after I first like went on the site, I bought the course, and definitely bought it with like money I did not have at the time.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I really just
As we do.
yeah, as you do. I was like, and it really felt right. Like I was, and it was definitely an intuitive decision, I think.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I bought the course, and then started working on it. And I think not long after that, I got my first client. I think even before I had reached like the
That
module.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it was this other alternative clinic I was going to and still go to. And they're even more specialized in the type of healing modalities they do. So I was actually just talking to the owner. I was in an appointment with her one day, and she was just like asking me how life was going, and I was telling her about freelance copywriting, and that
Oh
yeah, and that I wanted to work with clients like them, because I wanted to help people find like their business who needed their unique kind of medicine and their like very specific healing modalities. And she seemed interested, so I just followed up through email a couple days later, and then I ended up writing 2 blogs a month for them for $300 a month.
that's
And
great.
yeah, and I was stoked. I was stoked.
Yeah. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, and and like I will say, like I feel like I fully still had no idea what I was doing at the
Of
time.
course. Yeah. 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 But you did
So,
it. You did the thing
yeah,
anyway. That's
exactly. I was just
amazing.
like, well, and it really helped that I genuinely knew them, and like
Mhm.
I knew about what they offered at this point and their,
Mhm.
kind of their unique positioning. So yeah, and that I worked with them for several months. So it really was a nice first client. Um,
Yes.
so at this point, this is like the middle of 2020, and everyone is freaking out about the pandemic.
Yes.
And I was just like ignoring the entire world and just
Good
buckling
for
down.
you.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
like, what's happening?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I just kept doing the course and kept writing, and kept finding ways to improve my health, and really dove into a lot of mindset work for the rest of 2020.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I got a couple more like one-off projects here and there, actually through like networking Zoom calls. I feel like that was at that time there were a lot of those going around of like just random networking calls that you could
Yeah,
do.
everybody like freaking out that they're at home by
Yes,
themselves and they're like,
exactly.
let's just hop on a Zoom call.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually like met a couple of health coaches that way, and like did some projects for them. And then I was still building my website at this time, and I had started with a WordPress website. And I actually, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I actually got the WordPress site before I started the course. Like I was just,
Mhm.
yeah, I just need this, so I'll just get it. And
Right.
that was before I knew that you recommend Squarespace. And WordPress was just giving me so much trouble, and I hated it. But
Yeah.
I was so reluctant to give it up because I was like, I paid money for this.
Right.
Of course,
Right.
it was like $100. So
Right.
now I'm like, whatever.
Right. But then $100 on
Yeah,
your website, you're like, oh no.
yeah, yeah. But
Must stay the
finally, I was
course.
like, you know what? I just got to do it. I'm just going to switch to Squarespace. And it was like, as soon as I did that and bit that bullet, it was like everything just opened up. Like I finished my web copy, I
Yeah.
finished the website, and like suddenly, I by the end of 2020, I had like 3 new amazing clients in my niche, all of which basically flowed from one Instagram DM, which is a great story for another time. Um,
Like, or for right now. I don't know. It's okay.
yeah, it was very fortuitous, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like suddenly I had some recurring retainer clients, and by the beginning of 2021, I was making 2K per month consistently with just copywriting, and then I also had my part-time job.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. So
yeah,
fast and also so quickly into like ideal clients, like all the people you want to write for, like right out the gate. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was really focused on that. Like I knew like these are the people I need to be working with, and this is what
Mhm.
lights me up, and doing anything else is not going to light me up and be a drag. So
And that's something that I think, I'm a big believer that like sometimes the difficulties in life can, well, not sometimes, a lot of times they are actually can be a gift. And I
yeah,
think when you have limited energy or energy that you have to be really protective over
yeah,
because of all your health stuff, I feel like it comes from that. You're like, I need to find things that are like energizing for me because
100%.
it takes a big toll on you specifically when you do things that are draining. So
Yeah,
it's a gift in a way. You gotta
yeah,
like manage that energy.
I totally agree. Yeah, I'm definitely big on energy management. So for sure, that's something I've learned over the years now. Um,
Totally.
but yeah, kind of since then, I've just been continuing to build things. Like in April of last year, I was able to move into my dream apartment, which is where I
Yeah.
live now. And I have lake views, and I love it. And I'm just so grateful for it. And that was definitely one of the big things that I wanted to do by starting my business. Was like, I want to have this amazing apartment and, just financially support myself. I also paid off some credit card debt,
Yeah.
and stuff that had, accumulated from the medical stuff. So yeah, that was one of my big goals, and I achieved that in last April. So yeah, I just hit a full year of being living here, so that's
Yeah.
great. And then yeah, kind of from there, I just kept growing, and last September, I hit about a 4K consistent, like incoming revenue, and that's when I felt comfortable enough to quit my part-time copy editing job. So
Mhm.
now I've been full-time in my business since last September. So it's been about 9 months.
Nice.
And
That's amazing.
and yeah, I would say now I'm at about 5K consistent months, but I just recently sort of blew everything up again because I ended up going to TCC IRL this year, which is the Copy
Uh-huh.
Club in Real Life conference in Nashville. And they talked a lot at that conference about like burnout and how to manage that and avoid it. And it kind of made me realize like that was the direction I was heading in if
Ooh.
I were to keep just pounding on blogs, which is like what most of my business has been built on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. Like they're excellent, you know, as you say in the course, like they're great, consistent, like
Yes,
yeah,
totally.
but yeah, I just decided like, okay, I got to switch it up. So I ended up hiring a junior copywriter who I
Yeah.
think is here watching. Yeah, I ended up hiring her to help me with some of my blog work so that I can kind of focus on bringing in higher ticket projects and just grow my skills more and
Yes.
reach that next level. So it's funny, like I feel successful, but I also feel like I'm almost like a beginner again because it just feels like the next stage.
Right. Except for the learning curve is going to be way less steep,
Yes.
right? It's not going to be nearly as, it's not going to be the slog that you came from. It's going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah. And I love that you
massively.
say that because that's such a good like refresher of like, okay, like
Mhm.
yes, there's some things that feel uncertain right now, but also like like I have the foundation.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's you've built an incredibly solid foundation, and taking the next steps is not going to be nearly as hard as like what you've already done. And not only that, so because so much of it is like mental, right? Like
Yeah.
the freaking out and the uncertainty and the the procrastination and over analysis and overthinking and all of that stuff that comes with this like new phase. Like that's usually like some of the biggest, most stressful parts of it all.
Yeah.
The unknown, just all the fear that pops up. But each time you do that, and each time you have like a new iteration of your business, you recognize that, you recognize like that's what's happening. That's why this feels scary. Okay, it makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's
You build a trust muscle.
totally. And it just feels so much less like all encompassing,
Yeah.
and you can almost like separate yourself from it a little bit. Like I mean, I just went through that in the last few months with some restructuring and stuff to Write Your Way to Freedom, and I had
Right.
like full blown like, oh god,
Yeah.
remembering what it feels like to kind of freak out a little bit. But yeah, you know that you've been through it before, and you'll get through it again every single time. And
Yeah,
so
truly. Well, yeah, especially like looking back at my health journey too, it's like now
mm,
that I've been through that rock bottom moment, it's like nothing else is like gonna compare to that. So it's gonna be fine.
totally, those dark places and the desperation are like definitely a gift once you get out of it. When you're in it, you're like, all right, shut up, I don't want to hear
Yeah,
it. You're talking
exactly.
about how good it is, right? It's like hard to see, but once you're out of it, you like turn around and tell everyone else, you're like, I swear you can get here, I
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah, you become the annoying person.
Yeah, you can't help it. You're like, I know I'm annoying, but like, please.
Trust me, trust me.
But trust me, please.
Yeah.
Ah, that is so amazing. So I'm curious, I'd love to hear, if you don't mind sharing. You seem very open talking about your struggles with your health. Do you have any like thoughts or tips or just big lessons that you've learned about managing your energy and your health as being a freelancer and a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of something I'm always thinking about.
Mhm.
And I will say I'm very mindful in knowing my limits and knowing like how much work I can take on in a certain period of time. And I do feel like I'm, sort of testing that always to a certain degree because I am like very classic type A overachiever. Like I want to do all the things at once.
Yeah.
But I've definitely learned over the years, like, okay, I have, this much mental energy per day, and this much time can be put on actual writing, and like this, maybe like other admin tasks or whatever. Like I don't need as much energy for that, which I guess is like pretty basic, like time management, energy management sort of mindset, but I do really sort of come back to that on like a regular basis and like reevaluating, okay, like how much can I really get done in a day?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like there, and there will be days where I'm just like on fire and I just like get all the things done. Like I'm sure everybody has that regardless of whether you
Totally.
multitask
Yeah.
or not. And then there are other days where I'm so low energy or I have brain fog or like I just cannot do the thing. And on those days, sometimes I do try to push through it, and that usually doesn't work. But I also just have to kind of give myself, let myself off the hook. Like, you know what, you need more rest today, and like this thing can wait. And I make sure to build extra time into my
I was
project.
just gonna ask you that. Yeah. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so it depends on, you know, the scale of the project, but like I know, for example, I only need probably 2 days, three max to write a blog, but I will give myself the whole week. And I can do, and I know I can't write. I mean, I can uncomfortably write 3 blogs in a week, but I can only comfortably write 2 blogs in a week. So like I
Oh,
just have those limits, you know,
okay.
like just spaced out, and I know that like I'm gonna probably write something and then I'm gonna need to sleep on it and come back to it the next day. Like I always pretty much build that in.
Yes. Okay. Wow. So as far as like volume goes with blogs, especially because, they're one of the lower paid forms of like copyright.
Yeah.
So if you were making, just to try and like gauge this correctly, you're making about 5K a month and only writing like 2 to 3 blogs a week.
So it depends. I would have like other projects too. So
Okay.
my consistent, but yes, like I write, you know, my blogs are typically between like 1,500 words ish. They're always very research heavy
Mhm.
and, you know, SEO researched and of course, and well structured and well written and all that. So I just charge accordingly. Like
Okay.
my base rate for a blog at this point is 350, and I probably need to raise that.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No,
And I'm
that's all
sure
super helpful because, like, freelancing, you're structuring so much of your business and there are so many different guidelines. Obviously, you write your way to freedom, but also everyone's going to be slightly different. So it's
yeah.
just super helpful to hear how you structured yours. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll say yeah, and that's my lowest one at this point. So I right now I only have 2 retainer clients that I write blogs for, and one is at 350, and like I said, I need to raise that, and the other one is actually at 625
Mhm.
per blog.
Like the
So
blog.
yeah,
Yes.
so it's like, you know, you can really charge whatever you want
Yep.
and charge based on the value you're giving. I think for me, it really comes down to like the research part of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so huge. I'm so glad you shared that. I always love hearing how people like structure things because it's everybody has different things that they need. And
Yeah.
I think that when you're managing like chronic health stuff, I don't know, like for example, I think anything that was like required like a super fast turnaround time would feel like not the best idea, right? And remembering that you have full authority
Yeah.
to set your deadlines however you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
100%. If someone came to me and they were like, I need full website copy in 1 week, I'd be like, no.
yeah,
I'm like, sorry,
me
that's
too.
not gonna work for me. Like maybe 2 weeks. I could probably make 2 weeks happen.
I know. Me too. Even more so. Now I joke with people that I'm like, there's no emergencies in marketing. Like
Yes.
unless you planned poorly, like that emergency is fully created in your head and not my problem.
Right.
I
Exactly.
wouldn't say it just like that, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, we're writing website copy here, people. Like no
Yeah.
one's arms are falling off.
Yeah. This isn't heart surgery.
Yes, this is not a medical emergency. Like
Yeah.
we're good. Let's get it right. Let's do it well, you know? Uh yes, I love that. Somebody actually asked the question, and you kind of touched on this, but in case the other things come up for you, do you have any tips on balancing work on low energy days or when illness is flaring up and your health isn't the best? I try to get most of my work done when I'm feeling well, as I'm sure it can be hard to predict.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I really like something. I think it was like I think it was Jay Shetty said it on his podcast or something.
Uh-huh.
Like you'll have days where, like I was saying, like the on fire days where you're just getting like your entire list done. And
Hmm.
those are like productive days. And then you'll have specific days where maybe you're low energy, but you get like one big thing done, or you just get one thing. You just make it
Hmm.
one thing you have to do today so that you get something done and you feel like, okay, I did something. And then let yourself rest. Like I kind of feel bad about saying you just have to let yourself rest, but truly that is the case on those days. And like, don't beat yourself up about not being able to match the productivity level of your best days on your
Yes.
days.
Yes. I always say that your best every day is different. Like
Yeah.
it's always going to be slightly different. It's your best one day is not like you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
And that's true, like, for people who don't have chronic health
Yeah.
issues too. Like I have days where I'm on fire and I have days where I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
isn't happening.
Yeah, and I think like the other thing I think is I feel like most people work wise, you probably only have one or two tasks that like absolutely need to get done that day, and
Totally.
everything else is negotiable. So just focus on that one thing that you need to do, make some progress on it. Maybe you don't even get it done,
Mhm.
but just do what you can and then take care of yourself.
Yes, yes. And I also loved what you said about not beating yourself up because I used to do that where I would, take a mental health day or like try and rest and recover. But I'd spend the entire time being like, oh no, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And you just like don't get the most out of it. Like if you're going to take the day off to like recoup,
Yeah.
fully take it off also from like beating yourself up and
Yeah.
all the mental drama of just thinking that your day should look a certain way.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing I think that's super interesting and pushing back on as we're like freelancers is we still have that 9 to 5 voice like whispering in our ear, and it takes a while. It took me years to like finally be like, I don't need to listen to you. I don't need to work for 40 hours a week to feel like good about my work, to feel like it's legitimate
Yeah.
and actually bringing value. But yeah, we all have a little bit of that kind of like still whispering, I think.
For sure. Yeah, it's a process. Like I definitely still have days where I have that internal narrative like, oh, I should be doing this and this and like not resting or whatever. But
Yeah,
it's
I
just
feel like,
the
yeah,
constant reminders. Yeah.
yeah, if you're gonna rest, like fully rest, feel like this is what's happening today.
Yes.
So cool. So one of the other questions that was submitted was, do you have any tips for reaching out to holistic health practitioners?
Oh gosh. I wish I had more. I'm like, it's funny, like in the beginning, so how I told you I got my first like 3 clients with one Instagram DM. I feel like I got really lucky in the beginning with like not having to do much outreach. And
Mm-hmm.
actually now I'm at a point where I'm having to dig back into that and like sort of relearn
Yeah.
how to do outreach to get the kind of projects that I want.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm still figuring that out too. I will say, I think like the types of practitioners that are more willing to invest in copywriting and marketing, they're probably already going to be on something like Instagram or LinkedIn, or like hopefully just trying to do something. And
Mm-hmm.
that gives you an opening to go in and be like, hey, I can see you're posting once a week on Instagram, or like posting once a week on, or like writing articles on LinkedIn or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that you don't have a blog on your website. That would actually bring you a lot more traffic to your business and like help you become even more of an expert in your niche and in your field. Like, would you be interested in that? So that's kind of like something I've been thinking about. But yeah, I'm definitely still working on that. I just actually revamped my cold email template and started like looking for people to send it to. So
Yes. That's good to know. To add on to that, just because those are who I write for as well.
yeah,
Um, remembering that there's a couple of patterns that I've seen, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this among holistic health practitioners, because it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people are aware of this, but for the most part, those people kind of took the harder route with regards to like what it looks like to be a doctor, because they believe so passionately about the way that they're approaching medicine and health.
Yeah.
Um, but they took a hit because they're not a part of the health insurance model
Right.
oftentimes, so they're not getting their patients through health insurance essentially.
Mhm.
So they have to rely on marketing, and whether or not they like fully realize that people are on different like parts of the spectrum as far as like how aware they are of how much that will help their business. But it's always been fascinating to me working with these doctors that they really have to also be business owners and marketers, but they did not go to school for that. So they're
Yeah.
often not the best at running their businesses. And so pretty quickly, at least for me, like giving them just like general like business advice via like marketing was what my role became. And
Mhm.
so knowing that, and this is true for other industries too. This is true for anyone who's in the medical space outside of the insurance industry, which is like dentists, orthodontists, aesthetics, chiropractors, physical therapists, all those guys.
Yeah.
So just keeping that in mind when you're talking to them, like to be able to just like know what I just said and like say that when you're reaching out to them, it's powerful, because they're like, oh my gosh, you're right. I'm wearing two hats that are like both full-time jobs. I
Yeah.
have
And
to
they
deal
do
with
not have time.
Yeah, and they don't have time. They don't have time. They usually don't, have the patience that they want. They also usually, the other thing I'd say is they also, on discovery calls for me anyway, they figuring out, they usually have a type of patient that they'd like to be working with because they've had a ton of success and more knowledge in that area. And that's something to help them uncover too.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely come across that too.
And they don't usually, they don't have the training that we have where we know, okay, if you focus on those people, you're going to get more of the same kinds of patients. You're going to be more impactful because you know more about that type of illness.
Right.
And then it's just going to reinforce your reputation and bring more people to you. Because oftentimes they're the same mindset that, newbie copywriters have, where they're like, oh no, I don't want to pick a niche because
Yeah.
then I'll miss out on people, or I won't be,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, 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 those other people will still come.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know if you have anything to
that
add to that.
reminds me, like a good example of that is I was working with, or I am working with a practitioner right now who is a naturopathic doctor who really specializes in like environmental illness. So like
Mhm.
mold, Lyme, chemical
Huge.
sensitivity, like all those kinds of things. And those types of illnesses, and I have Lyme disease. That was like one of the things I discovered on my health journey. So like those types of illnesses, like people go so long without knowing what the heck is going on.
Mhm.
And those types of practitioners are so needed, and they just need to get out there. Like they just need more visibility for people to find them. So yeah, it's super
This
important.
is literally why I picked this niche, because
Yeah.
I was just so passionate about helping people with chronic illness because they're struggling to find answers. Because honestly, our healthcare system doesn't support them, and is
Oh
like,
girl, don't get me
yeah,
started.
like, don't get me started. Well, I could get into this too, because
Yeah.
I get so fired up about this. And that's literally why these practitioners have like taken these paths, right? They see the need, they see the people hurting. Oftentimes they actually have their own health story.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is fun to
yeah.
share. That's so fun to share in like an about page or what have you, like having them share their own health story. It makes such a big impact.
100%. It's like a whole like world of people just trying to help each other, and the healthcare system is just not helping them. So we get to help them. It's like I actually have 3 people in my family who have Lyme's, and it's just been Lyme, and it's been such an awful journey. And
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
yeah, took them years. I feel like I could even say it was almost like a decade before they figured out what was going on, which is a very common story, as you know. So yeah. Ah, well, what's next for you? What's in the future? What does the future hold?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm doing some restructuring in my business to try and take on more of these projects. And I'm so grateful that the Write Your Way to Freedom coaching sort of coincided with like this change I'm making. I was like, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Just like shouting at the universe. But yeah, like, so I feel like at this point, I'm really doubling down on like getting better at writing copy, to be honest. Like, I have not really tackled things like sales pages or like sales email sequences, stuff like that. So I'm really trying to improve my own skills. So, like, just for anybody out there who's a newbie right now and is like kind of overwhelmed, like, there's so much you can do. And like, I'm full time in my business and I'm doing the thing and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And you just keep going on the journey. So yeah, I'm building that up. And my sort of next income target, I like did some calculations and figured out that 7,300 a month would be real good. So
Right, like
that's my
that.
next goal. And yeah, kind of shooting for like 80, 85 for the whole year. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then like my other sort of passion project that I'm kind of starting is I really want to create a community space for chronically ill freelancers and people who are just working on their health and their business. And so I literally just created a Facebook page called The Chronically Resilient Freelancer.
Yeah.
So I will post a little bit more about that in the Write Your Way to Freedom group, but also you can find that, just search it on Facebook and I'll let you in. Tell me about your health story, and yeah, I just want to kind of support people that way, and yeah, that's kind of my passion. So that's what I'm working
Awesome.
on.
Awesome. I love that. Oh, it was so good to catch up with you. I don't know. You're such a warm presence in the community. And I know a lot of people have had an opportunity to connect with you. And I don't know, I'm really grateful to get a chance to actually catch up and hear more from you. So
Yeah, same. The group has been so important in my journey, and just yeah, connecting with other copywriters, no matter what level you're at, and yeah, just talking to people. Like, I can't understate the value of that. Just having those personal conversations, whether it's in the Write Your Way to Freedom group, or like you end up connecting with even like local people in your area, other freelancers, like just get out and have those conversations with people, because you never know where it'll lead.
totally. Totally. Well, awesome. What was that group called again one more time?
The Chronically Resilient Freelancer.
Chronically resilient. Love that. Love the flip of the chronic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know I appreciate it, and I know a lot of other people appreciate it. So thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.